because now that I'm hooked, I'm hooked. And this is the next impression that she is giving me. So let's go to talking a little bit about who's in her home. Okay, because we all have seen the assailant that is walking up the path to her home and taking out the doorbell camera. Okay, but she's an 84-year-old woman. She is being kidnapped. There's a man that has this knapsack on camera. When you look at the knapsack, it's full of things. So let me start telling you the impressions that Nancy is giving me on what's going on here. She is showing me that two people are discussing things in her home. And when she's showing me these two figures, we already see one on the camera, so we can ascertain that it's looking like a male. Although on one part of that camera video, where the assailant really is coming closer and closer and closer to the camera, and there's this one angle where you're kind of close and you're seeing the person's eyebrows. Okay, if you guys want to ever go back to that video, you tell me. There is one angle there that you might be able to convince me that that's a woman. And the reason I'm saying that is, please look at the eyebrows. And please look at how groomed the eyebrows are. Have you seen men with those types of eyebrows? If you have, they're kind of effeminate men. So I just want to kind of give you that to think about. I don't know if it's a woman, but I'm telling you, there was one moment in that video I saw it and I just thought, could that be a woman that has just readjusted some things? Just a thought. But let's go back to this other impression that I'm getting. Two people in the home. It's, you know, for whatever happened in that home, I got to tell you, I would agree. It's kind of quiet in there, okay? And I'm not getting a huge struggle in there either, to be honest. And I know on today's date, there are new videos. Nancy Grace has put something out new today. They're discussing now that law enforcement is saying that things were immaculate in the home. At first they were saying, oh, this is a crime scene. Well, if you knew that someone entered the home, it's a crime scene, that's that. But it gives you that feeling that when you say crime scene, that could be anything. That could be a bloody mess. That could be a freaking nightmare. That could be mess everywhere because she fought, but she's frail. Anyway, let's cut to the chase. I'm not seeing anything like that. And that's the crazy thing. Here's the other thing. People are assuming, as of today's date, the latest video I've seen come out, that back door propped open must have been from the two people. A lot of people are now going, there must have been two people. I see two people. I'm sticking to two people. But here's what I'm going to confirm. She is showing me that two people are in the house, and she is telling me that one person is on comms. So let's go back to the backpack for a second, and we see all these like things in there, and it's a pretty thin knapsack. Okay, so you can see distinctive shapes. Okay, so let's also go to the fact that her phone is disengaged, pacemaker disengaged from phone, all sorts of electronic things going on, whether the ring camera disengaged, her phone disengaged, pacemaker disengaged. Let's think of this. The person who's had to enter the house has got to be the bravest, okay? Because they're the one doing the most risk. They've got to get in there. And who the heck wants to go against an 84-year-old? Like, who are you? That's kind of sick. Anyway, let's really think about this. That person's got to get into that home. No one's discussing forced entry. Okay? So, and we know it's happening between 1:40 and let's say 2:30. We're assuming she's in bed. Savannah is heard. I've watched a lot of videos just to see now. And Savannah is saying on her interview with Hoda that something to the effect of, who takes her, you know, she's been taken from her bed without slippers, I believe, or without shoes. So for Savannah to say that after the fact, it actually must be the truth, okay? So let's just go with that. She was taken out of her bed. Okay, if she was taken out of her bed, though, how did this perp still get into the house if no one's mentioning any type of forced entry? We don't learn of that, right? Okay, so he's still got to somehow get into the house. So that's a little, I'm not getting information yet from Nancy on that, but let's just think about this logically as investigators. If there's no forced entry and Savannah says she's taken from her bed, okay, then there's something missing in there. Okay, so that chunk needs to be filled in. Let's go to the back door again, though. Okay. Could it be, like, she got home around 10 p.m. Now, a lot of people like to leave doors open, especially if they're screen doors, if they've always been safe in their neighborhood, if they know their neighbors, and if they need a cross breeze in their home. And this is what I know about my 84-year-old mom. She might not have dementia or Alzheimer's, but her memory's getting a little quirky. So could it be possible that Nancy just got home, was airing out the house? I use my planters to prop open doors. Why are we assuming the assailants did this? Okay, because I know a lot of people are kind of grabbing on this theory that they wanted to take her out the back door. But what's the point? If you look out her front door, there's no neighbor directly across from her that's going to be watching the front door. Look at that. Let's look at the back door. There's been some footage with Brian Enton, and he's put some footage on video from the back where you can see her pool. If you were to go through her yard, the only place you're getting is into a neighbor's. Okay, so if someone needs to come in the back door, I get that. It makes me wonder, is that how an assailant got in? Because that says undetected. It's pretty dark out there, and they don't have lights at night. So it would be pretty easy to just hunker down in the back if you had to. Yet, I don't know, I'm just kind of feeling Nancy could have innocently propped the door open, let a cross breeze in. How do we know she wasn't watering those planters? Because I water at night, and if you're in the desert, wouldn't you be watering at night? Like anything, okay? And because she's 84 and exhausted at that time of night, I've done it a lot of times where I know I got to do something, and I'm like, oh, let me just stay here for a minute. I'll do it when I go to the washroom or whatever. And you're putting it off for a little while, and then all of a sudden you're maybe falling asleep and you forget it's there. So I don't know if I'm just not buying the backdoor stuff. And this is why I'm not buying the backdoor stuff. What's the reasoning? You still have to get her in a vehicle. You can't tell me you walked her down the street. You put her in a vehicle. And this is why I know you put her in a vehicle. The blood on her doorstep only goes so far. Why isn't anybody talking about where the blood drops is and stops is where she was picked up and placed in the vehicle? And this is one other thing that no one's talking about. Okay, and like, how many investigators are on this? Okay, and this is not psychic information, okay? What I'm talking about right now is just me being an investigator, and I keep wanting to reiterate the difference, because if I get a mediumship message, I'm not changing it, okay? If I'm getting a vision, I'm not changing it. But speculation, we can look at it in a million different ways, and it's still good as an investigative mind to do so. Okay, so this is what I'm not buying about the backdoor theory. What is the difference? Have you seen the aerial shot of her property? Okay, because if you're coming out the front door where her blood was found, you're going to go through a little bit of a walking area. You still got to take some steps on the earth before you get to where the driveway is. Okay, it looked like it was a bit of a circular driveway. So when you really look at that from aerial view, the only other place that you're going to put a car, you're going to go around that curved area in front of the entrance, okay? It goes off to the side of the house, all right? And yes, there's a little bit of a driveway up at that point, at that one side of the house. Okay, so tell me, what would be the significance? Who the heck cares? If there's no lights on the street, you have perfectly planned this at a time of day, night, where nobody's around. There's no lights on in the neighborhood. You've already stalked her to know her routine, okay? So, tell me that. What's the difference of the car being parked at the side if you want to take her out the back door? No one's out the front to see her anyway. So, time is of the essence when you are kidnapping someone. So, if I'm a kidnapper, knowing I gotta make this swift, I'm just not gonna be mucking around at a back door that leaves me more exposed because it's taking longer to get her to where you could even have the car, okay? If you're struggling with her to get her to the front door, you could struggle her, you could drop her, you could go, whoops, sorry Nancy, I dropped you, nobody's seeing it, you can take all the time in the world, no one's seeing it, you can clean up any mistakes you're making. Why would you want to risk that outside? Not believing it. I'm not believing it. Okay, so let's go back to the front door and why I'm stuck on that. That's where the blood is. That's where the blood stops. That's where she's gotten into a vehicle, and it's the quickest and swiftest exit to get her off the property. So I don't know, I'm just not seeing it any other way right now, to be honest. Now, this is the other thing that I want to start talking about. I want to go back to the guy at the camera, okay, on camera for a second here. Okay, now I want to make sure I'm not skipping. I've made some notes, and of course, okay, this is what I am going to talk about. Okay, so let's go back to the fact that Nancy did tell me, okay, this is mediumship message, so I'm sticking to this, not conjecture. 2 people in the house, 1 on comms. That's what she's telling me. 1 on comms. So let's go back to the fact that phone disconnected, pacemaker disconnected, doorbell camera disconnected. Okay. If they were smart enough to disconnect all of those things, do you think they're carrying their own cell phones there that night? They're not. So let's talk about if there's two people in the house that need to coordinate entering the house at separate times. You're not seeing them go in at the same time, okay? So where has the second person entered? Maybe they're the one at the back door and they just came in that way, okay? And maybe they had to bring some shit in and that's why the door was propped open, okay? Because let's go back to the backpack. You have to detain her until your buddy gets there. You have to restrain her until her buddy gets there. Or, isn't that funny? Oh, Freudian slip. Why do we think it's a female in here? I'm not sure, but that's a Freudian slip that I would be looking at. Okay, so let's go back. They don't have phones. There's no way. Okay, if they know it's important to disconnect all of that electronic stuff, they're criminal enough to know not to be carrying their own phones. They didn't walk in together. So how do they know they're ready to do this? Are they just going, hey, at 1:45, it's a go? No, you gotta wait. The second person that's either hiding out back or waiting to bring the car. Somebody still has to bring the car, okay? Someone's bringing the vehicle. The guy that enters first can't leave Nancy alone. Once she is restrained and detained, someone's got to get the car. You're not risking her to be there. She could be screaming. You could be doing anything. But this is what came into my head tonight. And nobody's even thinking this. This is a Mexican kidnapping copycat. These are amateurs trying to go pro. When you go back to the video at the door, I want you to find that video because I discovered something last night when I was looking at it. And there is one time in the video that the person goes to the garden to get whatever that foliage is out of the garden, and he comes back and he's placing that, okay, and he's trying to block the view, right? Okay. There's one point you're going to see those arches at Nancy's house. Okay, the arch. I'm sorry, there's one. Okay, at the entrance. And you will, of course, distinctly see that perp at one point needs to come back through that archway. Now, everybody who's watched that video, who's a forensic investigator of any type, has noticed that this person is like totally taking it in stride. There's no nerves here, no jitters. There's just focus. Makes me think it's a Scorpio, okay? Focus, okay? Now, what you're going to notice on that video, you can count the bricks that are in that arch. Hang on. Here's an average sized brick. I just happen to have a house made of bricks. I just went to measure my 5'7" body against a brick wall in my other room. You know, mortar's only so thick, and you know major bricklayers, they know what they're doing, okay? So they know how to lay mortar and brick. So you go back to that video of the assailant, and I want to know why no one's talking about this. Watch this. There's one spot in that video where that dude, pardon me, I'm not off camera, am I? Oh, I'm sorry. That dude, hang in with me. That dude goes to the garden. Then he comes back through those arches, the arch. And this is what he does. You watch, you watch. He all of a sudden, instead of standing up, okay, you can see that he's sometimes doing this, right? Okay, watch for the moment that he's actually doing this. He's gone horizontal, okay, as he's ducking through the arch. And I caught it last night, and I'm like, hey, wait a second. You know what I got psychically there? This is what I got. That guy coming in the front door, he's done time. Whoever that is coming through the front door, you know what he was doing? He doesn't want you to know his height, okay? Look how detailed he was, even in those gloves are really covering him, okay? So, they've thought of a lot here. They've got a lot of things covered. Okay, why did he duck from standing like this, okay, just ducking a little, all of a sudden he goes like this, okay? He's way down. Why does he do that? He knows if he gets caught on that camera precisely in the arch, you will, okay, there's perspective, right? He's over here, then he's maybe through the arch. But if he's in the arch, you're going to see exactly, or close enough, what his height is, okay? So I went to count myself against my brick wall, and my 5'7" gives me 22 bricks. So you want to go back to that arch, look how tall he is, because you can measure the average brick, you can get that, and you can get an approximation of height. But you watch how long he ducks. There is no reason. He already knows the camera's there. He already knows he's on it. He's already trying to find a way to cover it. So why is he horizontal? He's hiding his height. And how I got that psychically is all of a sudden, you know, when you will see, I think he is involved in robberies, this person. So for people to think, could it be a robbery go wrong? Well, I'm sorry, you don't steal a body if you only want to do a robbery. Like, come on. Nope. But I think that front door person has done time. And I just kept seeing, like in gas stations, when they know that you get ripped off a lot, they'll have that tape, right? The measuring tape right at the door. Right at the door. So wherever your surveillance camera is catching thieves going out a door, you get to see, look how tall they are. And all of a sudden you go, look how tall they are. Okay, and you've got that measurement. So that was a major hit that I got last night. That dude's been in jail. He's been involved in burglaries. And here's the other thing. Like, this is a Mexican knockoff, okay? So I'm kind of thinking we're going with the Mexicans here, sorry to say. Okay, and even when you look at the skin color through that balaclava, I kind of feel that it very well could be Mexican. Now, here's the thing. Going back to the two people in the house, this is the next mediumship information that Nancy gave me. She has given me the specific message that when I am looking at the two people, okay, they're kind of in shadow, so I gotta say, we kind of see the other guy, but the other person is taller. Okay, the second person is taller. I'm seeing a distinct difference between their heights. Okay, they're not heads alike. You're gonna see a slight difference. So one of the individuals is a good few inches noticeably taller. And the other impression coming through mediumship-wise on this is she tells me, with respect to thinking of their age, if we want to try to place age for these assailants, she is specifically telling me there's a generation difference. Okay? Now, mediumship difference, mediumship message is one thing, speculation another. Okay? Mediumship message, generation difference in age. Take it verbatim. Now let's go off and let's just think about it. Maybe it means father and son. Maybe it means uncle and nephew. Maybe it means that the assailants have no family connection, but you could still consider them generationally different. So that would say, what do you want to say a generation is? 20 years? So consider that there is a generation difference in their age. Okay? Now, what else do I want to just mention when I'm streaming here? I think that's one of the things that, going back to the comms. Okay, this is the other thing that she told me about the 2 people in her home and 1 person on comms. The 1 person on comms, she is telling me, was never in the home. And she also tells me, never in the home, and never touched the body. Okay? And when I'm getting this impression of the 3rd person who's on comms, I am distinctly seeing a male. And this is the impression that I'm getting about this male on comms. He is very smart to never be seen. So it is possible that he has orchestrated this, coordinated this on his own, and engaged these 2 people to act it out. Okay? All of these people are very controlled, very concise. In a theory, I still want to say the 2 people in the house are kind of amateurs, to be honest. But I got to tell you, they have been around crime, okay? They have been around crime. They are not strangers to crime. Yet, I still have to say that some of their crimes have gone undetected. So, one might have done time. The front door assailant might have done time. The others might not have. Okay, now going back to this idea that they must be smart enough not to have their own phones, okay? Because this is, you might not know this, but I just saw a really cool whodunit, true crime. And a woman was killed during a wedding on her property in the United States with several guests present for a whole weekend. And she just up and, was murdered, and they're trying to figure out who the heck really did it. This is what the police were able to do. And I can't remember the exact phrase that they called it. I'll just explain what it is, though. They didn't know who the heck could have been killing her at this wedding weekend, okay? And they had to be resourceful in how to figure out who it was. So, apparently what the police did, they contacted Google of all things. And there is some sort of geo something or other investigative tool that they can use. And they were able to do this geo grid of some type where Google was able to tell them in a certain geographic grid, okay, around that city that this occurred in, they were able to see every single cell phone that was active in that entire grid, well outside of the place she was murdered, well outside of that. I'm talking city blocks that went on and on. And what Google was able to do was locate every single phone. It was assigned a certain 4-digit number. It was only 4-digit number. And you could trace and track every single phone. And that's what they did. And they were able to discover it was a contractor that had come back to the property to get something he needed to pick up. And the woman was available. He entered, he raped, murdered, and that was that. So, looks like I'm gonna have to sign off in 5 minutes according to this live. I've gone way longer than I thought I would. But I just wanna say that having a cell phone on you when you're committing a crime, you have to be living under a rock these days to even think that that is appropriate. You are not taking your cell phone. You are not risking it. So in closing, because I got only a few minutes here, really start thinking about this. The knapsack that you can see in the front entry video, look at the shapes in there. I don't know enough about walkie-talkies. Could that be walkie-talkies? Could each of these dudes have had their own walkie-talkie? No one's around. It wouldn't matter if you heard a little talking. Nobody's around. So between them, is that a reasonable way that they communicated? And here's another thought. And this is only as investigative. This is not mediumship information, okay? I'm not getting a hit on this yet. I just want to say on an investigative, I need to question this. Everybody with this latest video, Nancy Grace and a few people have brought this video out on the 60th day. I just watched it before this 3 a.m. live, where they keep trying to figure out how Nancy gets out of the house. How do these two people get her out of the house? Wrap her up. You've restrained her. She's not fighting. They're saying that the house is immaculate. So she's not fighting and she's not pushing things around. So here's a thought. If you're Mexican, you know every type. I'm sorry, like there's a lot of kidnapping in Mexico. Kidnapping for money grab is a serious thing. Here's the other thing that's really serious in Mexico: human trafficking. Here's another thing really serious: to even go out to a bar, roofies. My neighbor got roofied in a bar in Peterborough. It was horrible. She was drinking out of a beer bottle, hadn't even left the beer bottle alone. No one had touched her beer bottle. She was on the ground in a very short amount of time, blacked out. Her friends literally had to pick her up off the floor, put her in her own car. She was totally out. Brought her home, and it wasn't until the next day that she woke up puking, and she had hours gone from that little bit of roofie that she had no clue how it entered her because no one touched her beer. So if you know you have to get an 84-year-old woman out of a house, or for any matter, I'm thinking about this now. If I was a kidnapper, And you gotta hope that your victim is, come on, they wanted millions of Bitcoin. So if they wanted that, could they have sedated her quickly? Could they have drugged her just enough to maintain silence, maintain the restraint, and prevent a fight or worse calamity in the house? Does that not make sense? Why not just sedate her? Why not? So give me your thoughts. Now, I don't know how lives work, so I do believe I gotta go off. And I hope this is being recorded. Okay, so I do have to, let me just see. Okay, so let's just see. Let me see. How do I keep, does anybody know about lives? How do we keep this live? Because I do believe that, how do we keep the live? Okay, I believe I'm going to have to sign off, and I really hope, would anybody care to share this in any way, shape, or form? Okay, sorry folks, I do believe I've got to sign off. Like I said, I'm very new at this. I don't know exactly how to sign off. But I would like to bid you a very good morning and good evening. I think I've been on an hour now. Oh my goodness. Okay, my friends, this was a long one, but I'm going to transfer some of this into my YouTube channel. I'll probably take it in small segments and separate. And if you have any of your own insights into this case, it certainly is a doozy. I do pray that Nancy Guthrie will be discovered in the desert and brought back to a distinguished resting place. And I really hope that it can be solved and resolved. So I'm going to say a very beautiful good morning to you, and over and out.